Hey kids, I'm Belle. This is my bedroom. Welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna be talking to you guys about preparing a lesson for young learners. I know that this video especially is targeting young learners, not very young learners, not teenagers, not adults, because young learners is what was requested the most for me. So I decided to talk about young learners. If you want a video on how to prepare a lesson for very young learners, teens, adults, please leave in the comments below because I can do that, but I thought I would start with young learners. So before we start the video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I put a new video every single Friday, and I always read your guys' comments and requests, so please leave a comment below, say what you would like to see, and without further ado, let's go right into the video. Where I work, we use a book that has 2 pages per lesson. So each lesson is 2 pages, and each lesson has pretty much a flow to it. It has a context, it needs to be contextualized, it has a kind of a natural flow to it, so the book helps a lot. So the first thing that I do, I open the book, I look at the 2 pages that I'm going to be working on that day, and I look at those pages and I try to brainstorm some ideas. So I pick up little post-its and I write my ideas and I put next to the exercise. So this is just, I just do this for like 2 minutes. This is the first thing that I do, because I feel like if I try to start from the beginning, I'm gonna forget all of those thoughts. So that's why I write on the post-it and I stick the post-it on the next to the activities. So after I do that, then I go to the beginning of the lesson, and pretty much I try to think of a context to insert those kids. So the book, sometimes the book has a suggestion of contextualization that I sometimes follow, but one thing that's key when you are preparing a lesson is think of your group's profile, because some groups they like music, other groups they like books, other groups they like Harry Potter, other groups they would like K-pop. So I always think of my group's personalities, because different groups have different personalities. Of course, with young learners, there are always things that are like popping right now, like TikTok. TikTok is something that I used a lot last year, because and I'll probably be using a lot this year as well, because it's something that's popping and pretty much every group loves TikTok. But if you have a group that doesn't like it as much, you can do something different. So think of a context, because what you want to do is you want to call the students' attention in the very beginning of the lesson, so you have their attention for the rest of the class. So this is really, really, really crucial. So think of the context, consider your group's profile. This is crucial, really. Like, you will see how much more interesting your class will be for them, which is something super important. So this is the first thing that I do. After I contextualize, I try to think of how I'm going to present the language, the target language. So for example, if we're talking about food on that day, I usually make a circle with them. I ask them to sit down in a circle, and I use flashcards to drill and to ask them to repeat the keywords and stuff. So I love using flashcards, you know that. If you're here for a while, you know that I always use flashcards, and I think it's a great way to introduce vocabulary. Maybe not the entire language, but maybe vocabulary. This is a great way, because we can play some games with the flashcards. If you haven't seen it, I have a video on flashcard games and activities for young learners, so go see that video. So it's really important to incorporate different elements throughout the lesson. So I try to use flashcards because it's fun, it's different. They get to sit down on the floor and play with the flashcards a little bit, and I feel like that already gives them a sense of game. You know, it's a bit of I try to gamify my activities as much as possible. So after that, I go to the board and I do an activity on the board, and I try to drill some more and maybe have an open pair thing going on, like what, like Mary ask John, John ask Claire, Claire ask Joey. So that's what I try to do. After that, I try to see if there is enough practice on the book, because kids need practice too. I try to practice not only on the book, because to me that's just way too boring, but if there is we always have to have a practice activity on the book too, because it's important for them to sink in, you know, have a sinking in moment. That's super important too. So after I drill some more, have an open pair thing going on, I ask them, I look at the book. If there is no not enough practice on the book, I try to look online for a practice activity and take this activity for them to do it. So after they do it, then it's time for production. So I ask them to produce something. Of course, before the production, I would practice some more in a game-like activity. So I try to look at the book. If the book has any ideas on that, I would maybe use them, again depending on the profile of my group, or not. So if the group doesn't have that profile, I wouldn't do it. So after that, I would something that I always do, I try to do at least, is go outside. Maybe have a practice moment outside as well. This is really important. I told you guys how much I like to use the patio, the kitchen, the tech room, maker room, things like that. I love those things. If there is room for that, I would go there, either on the practice stage or the production stage. So the production stage would be the next one. So on the production stage, it's really important that they produce something that's going to be important for them and something that they care about. I mean, they're kids. If we're talking to kids about something they don't like, that's gonna be, you know, bad for them. They won't like it. So they have to create something, to produce something. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to produce something on paper or something, or like a text or something. They have to produce the language. So they can use the language while producing something manual, or they can use the language to have a conversation. This is really important. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but something that I also use a lot is Skype for Classroom. This is not an ad. This is not sponsored. I wish it was. But you can have like a mystery Skype with them. If you're working on questions, like yes or no questions, you can have a mystery Skype, and then they have to ask students from a different country yes or no questions, and based on their answers they have to guess where they are from. So this is something that I do a lot. Also, go outside, play outside. You know that I do this a lot. So yeah, there's the production stage. And yes, I do plan my lessons based on the PPP thing, you know, presentation, practice, and productions. This is something that has always worked for me, and of course I try to again gamify a lot of activities. so they have a lot of fun. But this method has always worked for me, so this is something that I do. Again, I'm not telling you guys to do the same, I'm just sharing my thoughts and my ideas. And yeah, so after I finish preparing all of this PPP, I go back to it and I ask myself 3 questions, 3 very, very important questions for me. Is the context really relevant for them, and how can I make the context even more relevant for them? So I try to, you know, get some videos and talk about a celebrity, maybe something that they will enjoy, you know, according to that group, that specific group. So this is something that I do, you know, rethink the context and how can I make it even more fun. The second question that I ask myself is there enough interaction? Because I always like to change the seating arrangement. I have a video on seating arrangement. If you haven't checked it yet, please do it. So I think of the interaction, like, has everybody interacted with everybody? So this is my goal. I try to go back to those steps and maybe, oh, on this activity I can change it a little bit so that the people get to interact a little bit more. So interaction is super important. And the last thing that I rethink is the production. Like, first of all, are they really ready for this production? If not, how can I prepare them even more? And also, is this production something that they're gonna go home and share with their parents? Is this production something that it's really gonna be meaningful? Is it a real life thing? So that's something that those 3 questions, I always consider those 3 questions after I prepare any lesson for young learners. Not only for young learners, to be honest, very young learners, teens, adults. So these 3 questions you can use with every single group. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. I don't know if it was super informative. It's just something that I do. I never thought it was a big deal, but I had a lot of requests from people asking me to talk about how I plan my lessons, and this is it. I hope it was helpful. Please leave in the comments below how you prepare your lessons, and thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video with everyone you know, with your fellow teachers, and I see you next week for a brand new video. Bye.